A warm welcome to a new episode of Melt. I'm Ritvika Gupta. The new year has begun on a cautious note as the world continues to grapple with the impact of the coronavirus and the latest variants. Can we really be optimistic about 2022? How are advertising, communication, and marketing companies and agencies reacting? We'll find out today through a conversation with Rohit Ohri, Chairman and CEO, FCB Group India. Let's get ready to melt with Rohit Ohri.
Morning, Rohit. Happy New Year.
Good morning, Anant, and Happy New Year. So good to see you.
Yeah, even if it's under these constrained circumstances, it would be better if I could do it in your office in Delhi or office in Bombay. Anyway, so to cut to the chase, if you had to quickly describe 2022, your vision of 2022, will it be easy, tough, middling? What do you think it will be?
From 2020 onwards, we've been thinking about 2022, quite honestly, because that was the year everybody said, okay, the pandemic will be behind us and we will accelerate growth at that particular point in time. And quite honestly, that seems to be, under a cloud right now, that whole optimism. And I know a lot of people have said, I've read through a lot of the industry leaders talking about 2022, saying they're very optimistic about 2022, and rightly so. I mean, optimism is a good thing to have, quite honestly. But I do believe that this is going to be a consistent and a big challenge for the industry, right? So there is an enormous need to reinvent now, because I think for a long time we've been thinking about this as something that will affect us for a year or maybe a year and a half, and then you stretched it to 2 years. But I think now it's pretty clear that this is going to be a new way of life, right? So this is not going away in a hurry. And we really, as an industry, need to think about the business and how we're going to tackle that. That's really, really important. So that reinvention, which we were kind of pushing out a little more, I think now is the time, and 2022 will be when all those hard calls will need to be made.
Rohit, it's interesting you're talking about guarded optimism as opposed to, the general optimism that seems to be flying around. Because your colleague Carter Murray has also been very guarded in all conversations that I've had with him in the last 2 years, whether it was discussing, attending Cannes, or whether it is face-to-face meetings with each other or face-to-face meetings with clients. He's been very careful. So when you say reinvention, what are the areas you think are ripe for reinvention?
So, I think it's a lot about the way we work, and I think it's time for agencies to really look at becoming more asset light and, figuring out new ways of working with clients. So there are a couple of things that I feel that are very important going forward. What we've seen is that clients are spending less and less money on the big traditional advertising, right? So the $1 million plus commercials are going to be very, very rare now. Right. So clients are spending a lot more money and focusing a lot on the bottom of the funnel. I'm more focused on sales and driving ROI for every rupee that they spend. So it'll be very important for agencies to understand this new dynamic and really figure that this is not this is not an or. It's not about either you're building the brand or you're doing the sales, right? You have to figure out what is that and that you have to do here, which is build the brand as well as deliver on the sales. So that balance is really important. And the other thing is creativity at every touch point of the path to purchase, because for a long period of time, we've been focusing really on one end of the, where it's about awareness and relevance that we look at. But now I think the time has come for us to actually look at every single element of the customer journey, because that customer journey is the one thing that is really truly changed in these times. Because our conventional contact points, all that has evaporated, and there are new ways that customers are actually buying goods and services. So one needs to understand these new touch points that have emerged, as well as what's the way that we can truly deliver creative, relevant solutions for our brands in these touch points. Then I think that's a big reinvention in the way we think, in the way we actually create work and create campaigns for clients. Because we for far too long, I think we focused on just the big ticket items, and I think today every single item is important and needs to be creative. So you do all your creativity and demonstrate it on one part of the customer journey, and the rest of it is just matching luggage. So that's something that I think needs to be reinvented and changed on the one hand. And the other is, of course, what I said first is really about looking at how we can work with collaborations versus expanding the entire workforce of the agency. I think the writing is pretty much on the wall that if this is the way the new reality is, then we need to find experts that we can collaborate with, and that helps us keep a fixed and flexed resource structure, right? So the fixed resource and the flex resource, agencies have never really been comfortable with the flex resource. We've always tried to have max the fixed resource, and I think it's time for us to look at a fixed and flex model that gives you ability to attract the best and retain the best talent. Also gives you flexibility from a point of view of costs. So you have the opportunity to work with the flex part of the cost. I was speaking to Deep Kalra some time back, and I was asking him, because they were one industry that were really, really badly hit. And something he said would really triggered all these thoughts in my head was really, he said, I'm trying to variabilize as much of the cost of the organization as possible. And that, I think, is the new mantra to follow. Is really about looking at what's the max variable cost that you can create and try and see how you can decrease fixed costs as much as possible.
So when you said asset light, do you mean cost light or fixed cost light as opposed to asset light?
Correct. I'm saying that it's more a fixed cost light. Fixed assets, really what I was talking about. And fixed cost light is really, I think, the way to go.
What are your top 2, 3, 4 focus areas for 2022?
So, my top 3 focus areas, one is, of course, talent. I feel strongly that, one of the biggest issues that we face is, of course, talent attrition at one level. Also, talent motivation and the making sure that every single individual in the organization is working at an optimum level. There was this very interesting article in Harvard Business Review which said, a lot of the employees are in the languishing mode, right? So which is not flourishing or not in some kind of a depression, but they're in that in-between mode. And I think one of the things that I was hoping was that with 2022 coming in and people coming back to office in full force, we would kind of bring people out of that languishing mode and into energized, forward-looking momentum. But quite honestly, I think I really need to rethink that and think about what are the other ways that we can achieve the same objective. Everybody was on the brink of, so from 4th of Jan, we are starting office, to now going back to no, let's wait and watch a bit longer, right? So that kind of gives you a bit of a mental setback as well. And I think that's something that I need to figure out what's the best way to energize and re-motivate the people at FCB at the start of 2022. That's one big objective. The other thing is really about finding the best talent. Obviously, we've had our fair share of attrition in as things opened up. I always look at every single dark cloud as only see the silver lining. It's an opportunity for us to really right size, also find the right talent, the new talent, that the kind of talent that we want with the vision of work that we have. So that was point number one, which is really about talent. The second point is really about the work. And I believe that focus on creative excellence needs to be never finished, because a reputation of an agency changes over a period of time. And I think we've demonstrated excellence over the last 4 years. We've been number one agency, creative agency across all award shows in the world. But what I really want to do is do this for another 3 to 4 years and then deliver, the best quality behind that. So the work is the other piece that I want to focus on. And just to add to that, what I'm saying is that creative excellence, not just in one part of the customer journey, but on every single part of that new customer journey. So the third point is really, and I think perhaps the most important piece, is the culture rebuilding. 2021, we celebrated 60 years. We didn't have the opportunity to bring the whole agency together to really celebrate it. We did this virtually. And I feel that FCB had a rich fixed deposit of culture, which we've drawn on over the last 2 years, right? So it is important to, deposit back into that fixed deposit. So what's the way that we create culture in this new world where a large part of the interactions are virtual and very time oriented, right? So I know I have to jump off a meeting and I have to get onto another Zoom call and I have to get onto something else. You don't spend enough time talking, interacting, sharing thoughts, building on other people's thoughts, and in the process building culture in an organization. Because culture is not really about the walls or the equipment. It's really about the people, how they work. That culture rebuilding, I think, is or not rebuilding, I would say culture re-energizing, rebooting is a really, really important piece. These are the three big focus areas for me, on a larger perspective for the agency.
You speak of your new sort of direction in creativity, where you want to connect with the consumer at every point of the consumer journey, which means not just one sort of tentpole commercial and then slap on JPEGs everywhere. But inherent in that is a cost. Are clients willing to pay the cost? Because they're used to saying, make a TVC and then baki sab free, more or less. So that's going to be a challenge. Are clients willing to pay the cost for quality creative across all touch points?
That's the realization actually clients have had as well, saying that, we need that same quality at every single touch point. Now, we've seen many new clients over 2021. And the one thing that they keep talking about is, they start off with, so I remember I was in this pitch with this large global company and they said, first, do not bring us an anthem film. Don't bring us a jingle. Don't bring us a 60-second film. We want to see how you're going to best solve our marketing problem across every single touch point of the customer. That's what they wanted to see. So those are the new realities. And I think that is something that clients are seeing value and want to accelerate, work around that.
Right. What's your single focused message to CEOs of marketing companies? Not the CMOs. What would you tell the CEOs of marketing companies?
So, the CEOs, I think the big thing for them is really about brands. It's very important for everybody to realize that, we are walking through a long, dark tunnel. Waiting for light at the end of the tunnel is really not the solution anymore. We have to light the tunnel in a way, right? So it's not light at the end of the tunnel, but light the tunnel. And as we walk with the consumer, we walk in that tunnel. So it's not that you put your brand building on hold and push very strongly for sales and peace. Well, both are important. And I think that's the thing that I think all, CEOs, CMOs really need to understand that in this environment, being brave is really what will help, brands survive, right? Companies survive is bravery in terms of innovation. Very often you think that this is not the right time to do innovation. Let's get the basics out. And I'm saying this is the right time to do innovation, because that's what will get consumers back into the fold and build the customer confidence back again. Because, the most important thing here is that customer confidence is something that is very fragile. And who's going to build it? I mean, is it the onus of the government? Is it the onus of institutions or religious institutions, or who's the sole beneficiary of customer confidence? And I think it's companies and brands. So brands and companies need to come out of the wait and watch, be tentative, be cautiously optimistic. All those things are passé now. You need to come out and say, okay, this is the way it is. This is it. And we will work forward with this. Whatever we have right now, that is it.
Right. So finally, a lot of what you have spoken about in the last 20 odd minutes is about almost reskilling your agency, because, all agencies, traditional agencies, have a huge amount of talent to handle the tentpole advertising. But, when you go through the touch points, almost all agencies have a shortage of people or skill sets required. So how do you address that, and who's going to pay for it?
So, one of the things that we've done last year was actually we did an acquisition of a digital agency, and this was with the very clear view and vision saying that, we need to integrate a high quality agency with the mainline agency. So one of the big things that we are looking at for 2022 is a full integration with Connect, where what that helps us do is actually deliver the full solution to our clients, because we have a very high quality, and I mean they're India's largest independent or were independent digital agency. There are 400 odd people there, and bringing that caliber and capability into the agency, I think that's something that I'm looking forward to, and we've actually seen enormous amount of success. You won't believe, Anant, that for some of our clients where we were working together, actually, over 2021, their business has become larger than ours. So what we're seeing is that there's a great return. Clients are finding, great value in looking at every single touch point. So what we're doing is we have the new people and patterns tool, which outlines what's the format of understanding what kind of communication works at different parts of the customer journey. And then we use the capabilities of the mainline agency as well as Connect to come together. We look at emotions in customer journeys now, not physical points of contact anymore. It's how you're feeling. So it's whether this stage of the customer journey you're confused, this stage you're elated, this stage you want to show off what you bought. So understanding that and being able to then say that these emotions need to be prepared by this type of communication that will and then work that communication accordingly. I think that centerpiece, because we've got the new customer journey, that actually enables this in a way that is unique and differentiated, in my opinion.
Right. So as we come to the end of the conversation, and I'm sure, to use an emotion, my viewers will be delighted with what they learn from this conversation. So thank you so much, Rohit, and Happy New Year again.
Thank you, Anant. Always a pleasure.
And that was Rohit Ohri sharing the need for the industry to reinvent during this time. He is now presenting the Melt cheat sheet. Businesses and agencies need to deliver relevant solutions, keeping in mind the evolving customer and touchpoints. Companies need to adapt to the fixed and flex model that will allow them to hire and retain top talent. Brands and companies need to be brave during a crisis in order to build customer confidence. And that's a wrap on this episode of Melt. You can follow us on social media. Our handle is Ready to Melt. And stay updated with all that's happening in the world of advertising and marketing with our daily Melt update on our website, readytomelt.com. I shall see you next week. Goodbye.